putting a high premium on flood-prone areas. The insurance industry demands flood defences in vulnerable areas before they'll provide cover.
People who've been flooded previously and are being flooded again, they know they're not going to get insurance cover for their property or for their business or for their house.
A suspicious death in County Limerick. Gardaí appeal for witnesses after a man's body is found in a back garden in Castletroy.
At this time, I haven't been able to identify the person that we have found at the scene. I can't link him to a missing person report.
4 ex-bankers plead not guilty to conspiring to defraud people about the true value of Anglo-Irish Bank's deposit book.
And US authorities release emergency call made by Irishman Jason Corbett's father-in-law.
He's bleeding all over and I may have killed him.
Good evening and welcome to 6-1. As floodwaters around the country begin to recede slowly, the insurance industry has thrown cold water on calls for a new scheme to help flood victims. The Taoiseach is to meet industry representatives next week to discuss the issue. But today, Insurance Ireland said it was up to the government to build adequate flood defences before insurers agreed to any new scheme. It also warned that imposing a levy on insurance policies to fund flood repairs would drive up costs for all policyholders.
Counting the cost in Cahirmore, this part of South Galway hasn't flooded before, so most of its residents are insured. But following this deluge, they're unlikely to get cover again, adding to the growing list of locations that insurers won't protect. The industry says that's unlikely to change unless adequate flood defences are built by the state.
There is no getting away from building flood defences, no matter how politicians try and dress it up. You can talk about levies and schemes until you're blue in the face, but you need to build flood defences in unprotected areas. It's not the job of the insurance industry to build those flood defences, it's the job of government.
Some say a levy might be the answer. In the UK, all customers pay an extra €15 on their policy so that residents in flood-prone areas can be covered.
The current 5% levy we have at the moment, 1% should be redirected towards a flood fund. And if we had done this maybe 2 years ago when the last floods in December 13, January 14, we're probably looking at a pool of about 52 million had it been done at that time. So, which is why we should start collecting this fund immediately and preparing ourselves for when the next event happens.
Bad planning has also been blamed, but local authorities say the experience from recent floods and new rules will prevent a repeat of past mistakes.
Any land in the future that's along a floodplain can't be built on in the future, and furthermore, any land that's zoned which hasn't been built on as part of that CFRAM process has to be looked at and a decision made whether the zoning should be retained. And the only way it can be retained if it's possible to do mitigation in advance to prevent flooding in the future. So we're in a very different scenario to where we might have been once.
It could be some time before the extent of the damage caused by the flooding becomes apparent, but the Taoiseach says that something must be done to help flooding victims, and he says his discussions will be frank when he meets with the insurance industry next Tuesday. Samantha Librari, RTE News.
Well, flood victims in East Cork say many steps could be taken to ease flooding at little or no cost. As the clean-up continues, the cost of damage to their homes and businesses is expected to run into tens of millions of euro.
I suppose the story really starts on the outside.
Tom Clear and his wife Jane have run Waterrock House outside Middleton since 1988.
This stream starts 27 miles away, comes down here, and all around you? Yes, all around us.
Despite being bordered by a stream, Tom has seen his bar and restaurant flood just once before in 1995, until just before New Year's Day, when incessant rain caused the stream to flood twice in 2 days. Tom and Jane could only stand by and watch as their life's work virtually washed away.
Well, here we are, entering the hallway, and you can actually see now the extent of the damage.
How high did the water go?
The water level came in this high. It's shocking. It's gut-wrenching. It's tore the whole soul out of the whole lot of us.
Tom Clear claims the solution to his community's flooding lies 2 kilometres away, where the stream which borders his home enters the sea. But he says his pleas to widen the channel there have been ignored.
No, nobody seemed to be interested. Nobody seemed to be interested.
9 kilometres east in the picturesque village of Castlemartyr, Paul and Catherine Power's home was flooded too. Paul Power has lived at this house all his life. He says it's the first time it ever flooded.
You can probably still see the mark on the glass of the door. There was exactly 1 foot of water in here.
Paul Power has an appeal to those charged with the job of tackling the flooding problem.
Well, meet us. I see a piece in the paper today asking for, local knowledge. Please come and meet us, because I'm always complaining about the fact that things aren't done the way we'd like them to be done. There's quite a lot could be done. Quite a lot could be done.
December's atrocious rains are in the past for most people here now. Their fear is for the next floods. Pascal Sheehy, RTE News, Castlemartyr, East Cork.
US authorities have released the audio recording of the 911 call made by Jason Corbett's father-in-law on the night of his death. Thomas Martins and his daughter Molly Martins Corbett have been charged in connection with the death of the Limerick man.
39-year-old Jason Corbett from Limerick had been living in North Carolina with his wife Molly Martins Corbett and his 2 children from his previous marriage. On August the 2nd last year, he died from head injuries after an incident at the home they shared. On Tuesday, 32-year-old Molly Martins Corbett and her 65-year-old father, Thomas Martins, appeared before the Superior Court of North Carolina in Davidson County, Lexington, charged with second-degree murder and voluntary manslaughter. Yesterday, the North Carolina District Attorney's Office lifted an order sealing certain documents and material relating to the case, including an audio recording of the 911 call made by Thomas Martins on the night of Jason's death. That recording has now been made public.
Our daughter's husband, my son-in-law, got in a fight with my daughter. I intervened, and I think he's in bad shape. We need help.
Okay, what do you mean he's in bad shape? He's hurt?
He's bleeding all over, and I may have killed him.
The operator tells Thomas Martins that an ambulance has been sent before asking him what had happened.
Hit him in the head.
With what?
With a baseball bat.
With a baseball bat?
Yes, ma'am. He was choking my daughter. He said, "I'm going to kill her."
Staying on the phone with the operator, Thomas Martins and his daughter administer CPR before paramedics arrive. Thomas Martins and Molly Martins Corbett have been released on bail pending their trial. Jason Corbett's sister, Tracy Lynch, seen here wearing blue in this footage from last year, said after the court hearing this week that the family wanted all the facts to go in front of a jury in order to uncover the truth of what had happened. Molly Martins Corbett and Thomas Martins are due to appear in court again on the 19th of January. Sinead Morris, RTE News.